In this episode, we're heading to the Upside Down as we discuss...
Stranger Things 2. And I'm back.
He's back! That's right, we're going to weigh in now on what we thought about Stranger Things 2. I did a quick review of it, so...
Now I'm back. We're going to try to get a full feel of what we thought.
Yeah, and we're going to explore some of the the subjects that it covered and some of the really awesome things. But last time I talked to you, you hadn't finished it yet.
Yes, and at the point we talked, I had just stopped at the infamous episode 7. And I'll be completely honest, I have purposely stayed clear of any of the critique of episode 7.
Okay.
For the simple fact I didn't want somebody else's opinion,
Yes.
weighing into what I personally thought. Now, let me tell you what episode 7 is. And I mean this. I haven't seen anything or any... Episode 7 is a great starting point for Stranger Things 3.
It is.
And that's what I believe the intent of episode 7 was.
Now that we're talking about episode 7, may we hypothesize about it a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay. I understand the Duffer Brothers wanted to pay homage to the Dark Knight. So they had the chase scene at the beginning. Interesting, but automatically it takes you out of your comfort zone of Stranger Things.
Did it?
Kinda.
Why? Because you went to Chicago? But you know what I mean?
Different characters.
Okay. Well, but we were given a slew of different characters this season. I don't look at them as any different than I look at Max and Billy. You understand?
Fair,
that's why I said I
fair.
don't look at them any to me.
Okay.
Okay. And you and I talked about this briefly. The one thing I hope is that episode or season 3 does not focus again on Will. Okay?
Yes.
And that's all. That's the only critique I have. Honestly, that is it. Because I feel like... And I'm glad Will got more screen time because he's a good, interesting character kid. Okay?
And it's a great actor. We finally got to see more depth out of his performance.
But to me, the most intriguing character, the character I want to know more about, right down to her mom being a member of the Ultra, program, which is, mythicized in all the government conspiracy books. I've read them all. But 11 is the most interesting character on Stranger Things. Now, there are other interesting characters. I'm not saying that. But in a book of interesting characters, to me, she screams, I need to know more about her. Because there is potentially now 11 or at least 10 other individuals.
If they survived.
If they survived, you're correct.
This is just my assumption watching season 1 that she was the only one that survived.
As well. Me as well. I will not disagree.
So, that was quite a shock to see the 8. And, I wanted to save our theories for the end of this, but it ties in by the end of the show's whole run. 5 seasons, 6 seasons, whatever
it's going to be. Yeah.
They signed off on. Could be more. Will we see all of the kids together to fight in more ultimate evil? But they'll do it a way where they could do a whole season away from the characters we know, but then come back to them later.
Well, but here's the interesting thing. There's a lot, and I've heard some people, not reading, just in our little microcosm of friends, okay? There's a lot of hypothesizing. The one thing I haven't heard, and I think that Stranger Things has lent itself to being a lot of capabilities. And what I mean by that is okay, this is taking place in the 80s.
Yes.
Okay, these characters are about 3 or 4 years older than us. You get the distinct impression they were born in about 74, 75. We were born in 76. Okay?
Yeah.
About that. Because I'm figuring them to be about 10,
now
maybe 11 years. 44,
40s.
45,
Yeah.
something like that. How awesome would it be to do a Stranger Things 2016 where they
like
are
it style. They
like
got to
its
come back.
style?
Yeah,
But what I'm
yeah.
saying is you hopefully see Mike and 11 have maybe had offspring. What do they do?
Yeah.
What's that
That
capability?
would
You know,
be a
that,
great ending.
that would
for
be.
the
That's
whole
what I'm
thing.
saying. And
Yes.
so to me, there's a lot of things you can do with the way that the Duffer Brothers have structured this world.
Yeah.
To me, that or you can do fast forwards. That would be
Yes.
kind of interesting to see a season on that, or very. I hate to use this term, losty. Where they had the flash forwards, flashbacks, that type of thing. That would be kind of interesting to see.
If it's done in an organized fashion,
Agreed.
kind of like Arrow.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to kick off the
Yes.
episode with a flashback,
Yes.
and then how this
Yes.
ties into that flashback.
But to me, the only critique I have is the one I've said. The other thing is, and it's not a critique, it's you can't do it again. The first season of Stranger Things had a scale of adventure. Okay, that adventure that every kid, the Goonies episode,
yeah.
whatever you want to
Oh,
call
yeah.
it. Okay, you don't have as much of it or as the feel of it as you did in season 2. But I don't think you could have, because you've already played in this world, you've already been in this reality. You know what I mean? And so there's no way to cap. It's very hard to capture it again. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and that's,
yes, but I have to say there was a time when I'm just, I'm watching it, I'm absorbing it as it's happening, and then it just that epiphany hits me as I'm getting giddy and excited over some of the team ups and the battles that are ahead of them, and it's like, Jesus Christ, this has changed into a different movie all of a sudden. In my mind, it switched gears to a more action comedy, Monster Squad, Goonies. I loved it. Yes, it's different. It was a different feeling. Yes, that wonderment and amazement was kind of like not there as the first season, but it was like a whole nother reason for me that I got super
fair
into
enough.
it.
Fair enough. I loved the addition of Sean Astin. I loved the older brother. Because what's nice is it brings you back to the fact that at the end of the day, they're still kids. They're still in middle and high school.
Yes.
And sometimes high schools have dicks. Okay? And the guy you thought was a dick last season really isn't.
Or he was put in his place. He had that meeting the maker moment where his world got turned upside down.
But even last year, when the shit hit the fan, he's making a club or a bat with nails in it.
Well, Jonathan makes
Jonathan,
that,
that's
yeah.
what I'm saying. But he was set up last year as kind of being the hip dick kid. You thought that's the way that character was going to go from every 80s movie we've ever seen. You know what I mean? But no, this season we have him working with Dustin, to get his hair right for the snowball. You have him working with Dustin, bring your bat, we're going to go after.
Yeah, it's just like, she's not into you, dude. She went off with Jonathan.
Right.
You got that bat with you?
Right.
And he's just like, okay. I mean, he's like, has a quiet resolve of, this is life now.
But even the end of it where he drops Dustin off at the snowball.
Those are great
These are all,
moments.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that's what really, if you want to know the truth, that to me gave it such an 80s feel. Is the last 15 minutes of episode 9 at the snowball.
Yes.
When Elle walks in dressed up and Mike's sitting there, you know what I mean? I just liked all of that.
And I'm sorry, I'm a hardened 41-year-old, but that shit hit me. I mean,
sure,
there are
because we
moments
grew
in
up with the 7th, 8th
well, no,
grade
not even
dances.
the nostalgia of it, but the characters, their interactions. I mean, it.
Right down to Dustin looking like the member of Flock of Seagulls.
Yeah.
I agree. I
got so many times of choked up. I mean, anything with 11 and Hooper or Hopper.
Yep.
That just fucking got me.
Especially the end scene when they're at the gate.
Yeah.
I thought that was really powerful. Where all he's doing is just watching her back so she can close the gate. I also like the fact that they brought them all together in a very Return of the Jedi way. So they're not together through most of it.
So the snowball is the Ewok celebration.
Yes, to me. Okay, but the beginning
I'm on
of
board.
what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
the beginning of 8 or the end of 8 or whatever, episode 8, when she destroys the demidog.
Oh shit! Spoilers.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll
We should
put it in
probably
the
said that.
description.
Yeah,
We'll
we
put it
probably-
in the
yeah,
description.
Yeah, we screwed that one. I'm sorry. But anyway, Dustin, with her throwing the demidog through the window,
Yeah.
and she walks in. That is your Return of the Jedi moment. That is Luke saying, "And I'm coming too." Okay, this is the first time
Yes.
you've got.
Okay.
So it takes all 8 episodes to get them to that point.
Yes.
Do you understand? There's Hopper, there's Mike, there's Dustin, there's everyone that you knew and love is there, finally. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Even Lando. Everybody's there,
And them none.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But I'm saying I like that. I
Yeah.
like the fact that, and I like the fact that halfway through, what is it, episode, is it 8 or 9? I can't remember which, where they decide, how's the best way to get L the shot at the gate?
Yeah.
We're going to go drop into the,
That was very monsters. Well, maybe.
It's
but
a very 80s
Yeah,
movie
yes.
thing to do. We're going to do the diversion so they can,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I love that tone. That's what makes Stranger
Yes.
Things so great.
What? Now we've talked about how great it is. Do you want to hear what some of the negative things I've heard online?
Please
And
do,
I would-
because
I
like I
would
said,
love
I
to
have
address
purposely
those.
stayed away from them.
One thing I read, not giving the source, but they wrote a whole article on why was Hopper stupid, and they point out all these stupid things that he's done. Oh, that's not the character we knew. They point out as examples that he locked 11 up.
He
Which-
grounded her.
No, kept her in the cabin for a year.
Okay.
Well, we'll address that in a minute.
Okay.
About him not investigating the pumpkins right off the bat,
What?
which led to them finding the roots and blah blah blah. He should have discovered that right off the bat. He's smarter than that. And what he did to Bob. Sent him out by himself with a gun because he didn't even know how to use it. And then when Bob gets attacked, just runs off, doesn't try to help. Okay. First one I'd like to point out real quick is he locked 11 up. Okay, we kind of got the answer to that at the end when he's apologizing to her, where he's like, "I like the look," and she says, "Bitchin', bitchin'."
But what do you
But he
think-
says, "I don't want to lose you."
But even more
And after
than
the
that,
death-
even if that
yeah.
has nothing to do with it, she's hunted by the government.
Right.
What did you think?
Right. That is the bare basic layman answer for it. But I'm just saying the emotional answer, since this person...
Well, he lost his daughter. He's trying to protect his new daughter. I
Yes.
agree with all that.
He's
That
gonna
to me,
overcompensate.
To me, I agree with that. But I don't even see any overcompensation in this. This is someone who's going to be hunted by the government because they want their
Yes.
experiment
Yes.
back. Why would you not? To me, what would insult my intelligence more than Hopper locking
she's
her up?
bebopping down
She's
the
just
fucking
yeah,
street.
she's
Yeah.
roller skating, and hey, Mike and her and everybody, they're going
We all
trick or
got
treating.
Walkmans,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's going to go as Zool. I'm whatever. I'm just
Yeah.
that is the most asinine thing I've ever. I'm sorry.
I know, I
Whoever
know.
wrote that, you're a fucking idiot.
I think it's to the point of just
Sorry.
clickbait because of the popularity
That's
of the
all
show.
it is. Exactly.
The thing about the pumpkins, I mean, all I can say is his character at that time
How
was
much quicker did you want-
distracted.
But how much more quicker did you want him to figure it
Right.
out?
He's distracted by his new daughter, for all intents and purposes.
But not only that, it's Halloween.
Right. And the thing with Bob,
What about okay?
yes, he goes down, and yes, there could have been a shot in hell. Maybe he could have saved him, but there was a whole slew of more demi-dogs behind him.
Demidogs.
Demi-dogs.
Demidogs.
Yeah.
You got the Demidogs.
Demi-dogs.
Demidogs.
Whatever.
Anyway, I love that kid. I'm sorry. I wish he was my little brother. Sorry, Dustin. I think he's just absolutely awesome.
That dude is awesome.
He is. I just think that's. I think Bob. Yet again, as a character, I loved Sean Astin.
Yes.
Even the little pirate treasure.
Now yes, the Goonies called back
the,
to that.
The Goonies
But,
called
I mean,
back.
the Duffers have come out to defend it. Like, all of a sudden, why the hell? I mean, we're getting to
All
a
right,
weird
so-
world where
so-
you need to defend your actions in an imaginary
the Duffer,
setting.
I know there's no
But-
shot in hell you're watching this, but just saying, point blank, bottom line, end story. There's no reason to defend this.
No.
Bob was your quintessential plucky character from the 80s who was going to die. He was. If you didn't...
9 out of 10 times that character dies from cowardice. But
Well,
this time,
he-
which I have to say was one of the most...
You knew he was dead when the camera goes and the gun's still there.
Right.
As far as I was concerned. I didn't, you know what I mean?
Unfortunately, yes. But I'd like to point out a couple of things about that whole scene. First off, that is the most intense thing I have lived through in a
Yes.
while. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I had not been that invested and stressed. But
I
here's the
love
thing.
the fact that he proclaims himself to be a coward, essentially, okay? And proclaims himself to being afraid of clowns, all the problems that Bob has. But at the end of the day, Bob's just a good guy, right?
Yes.
Dressed up as Dracula, showing the kids how to use a camera, works at Radio Shack. Every 80s cliche, Bob, to a certain extent, is kind of wrapped into
Yeah.
to some extent. I love the fact that Bob is the guy who can speak basic. I love the fact that he knows that he's the guy to do this. And instead of saying, Hopper, aren't you going to come with? No.
Well, the thing
You
is,
know?
someone needed to stay behind, too, to get them out of the building. And I think in a situation like that, they would think that getting out of the building was the more physically intensive thing that they would need Hopper for.
Mhm.
Fair?
But not only that, would have Hopper, let's be honest here, would have Hopper left the kids, Winona Ryder,
No.
to go with Bob?
No.
More importantly, Bob's character would have said, okay, or, you know, Sean Astin
Right.
Bob would have said to Hopper, you can't come with me.
Right.
You need to stay here. You need to make sure the kid, any self-respecting man
Yeah.
is going to do that, okay? And Bob is nothing more than the guy you want to feel. Look, somebody had to die this season.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the thing is,
and I'm
and
sorry
yes-
that it was. I am because Sean, I
yes.
really thought that was a great
And
character.
apparently
that
he
you
was
did.
only going to be in a couple episodes and then
And they've
died.
actually expanded his
Yes,
character. Yeah,
because of how awesome Sean Astin
Astin
is.
was. Yeah, but to me, yet again, and at the end of it, there's even the pictures of Super Bob. You know,
Yes.
that the kids are. You know what I mean? I like that.
He finally became that cool person, unfortunately, in his death. Where
But that's
his name, people.
But
were talking
he's
about, right.
redeemed. At the end of the day, he's redeemed,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it. But I like it.
Now-
I also like the fact that he is the one that gives him basically the worst advice possible.
The best, yeah.
The
best,
worst.
The worst advice, yeah.
You know, stand your ground and look what happens. You know?
Which in a normal bully situation or something, but
This is
nobody
the most
could have been prepared
80,
for this.
80 stereotype scenarios that we're going through here. These are.
I'd rather say homage than stereotype.
fine.
Please.
But what the Duffer Brothers do is put that stereotype, that homage
Yes.
right on its ear. Because usually the information that Bob gives to Will, thank you, is the advice you expect the Bob character to give the Will character. And what does it do? It blows up in Will's face.
Right.
You know, Bob's the guy, like you said, that usually survives to the end. And if he doesn't, it's because he was a coward. He's hiding in a
Right.
closet somewhere and the dogs eat him or whatever. Okay? No.
Or he just comes out at the end like, is it over yet? You know, bump, roll the credits.
Right. So to me, here's another one. Paul Reiser's character.
Dude, I have to say,
Go ahead.
in that hallway scene, did you think he was going to lead him to the dogs at first?
No.
I did. For some reason, I had a real Aliens flashback to it.
Okay.
You know, where it's
Okay.
like, where he's
Okay.
radioing,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
and he's really up to some shady stuff. Because he's given talks of, we need to keep this safe. And in his mind, maybe it's like, this is one person to
But
get
you
out
kind
of the
of
equation.
you kind of got the redeeming quality to him, okay? When he takes Mike's sister and Jonathan and basically says, you know, this is what we do to keep the world safe.
Right.
He had the opportunity to lock them away to never be, quote unquote, seen
Yeah.
from again, and he doesn't. But here's the thing, and I know it's a little bit of a nice little neat bow. I love the fact that at the end they're sitting in a diner eating a tuna melt and going back and forth, and even Reiser gives him a birth certificate, about a year. Well, what about one night? I mean, it was just perfect.
That definitely seems like something that we've seen in comics and stuff before, but like the superhero's handler.
Absolutely. Listen,
Hopefully we see him in more seasons because I really enjoyed that character.
that list about Hopper is the biggest single bunch of shit I've ever heard. That is honestly someone looking
Yes,
for
he
something
wasn't
wrong.
doing the Hopper punch and stuff.
But Hopper would.
His whole world flipped upside down, and it's just not the monster that they fought or learning about alternate
But you
realities
tell me
and
that
stuff,
the end,
and going
the
through
end
the
of Stranger
down.
Things isn't a Hopper moment. It's
Yes.
him sitting there on the elevator, plugging demodogs, left and right while
Yes.
she's closing the gate. I mean,
Yes, that, but
I don't need him.
But
I
he's
didn't-
not the brash man that he was, because his mind is preoccupied
Correct.
to his daughter
Correct.
that's hiding, that he wants to make sure
Correct.
is hidden.
Well, to me, if you're going to pick him apart, why isn't he more concerned? I mean, you find out he is later, but during some of those scenes when they're back at the power company, okay, why isn't he more concerned about what's going on with Elle? If you're gonna critique it, if you're gonna find something right that he's quote unquote
Yes, that was
done wrong,
a bit naive of him to think, oh, she's just sitting at the cabin
Right.
waiting on me. Could he have imagined a road trip from here and there and staying overnight?
No.
No, definitely not. But he knows that she can take care of herself
Well,
in their
then some.
cabin, so he's wrapped up in an adventure. It's
I'm
not
just
like we
saying-
had cell phones or anything at that, in that
agreed.
time period.
I'm just saying, personally,
Yes.
if you're gonna critique anything that's unhopper, okay, that would have been it. And even that, you'd forget the fact that, Elle's doing I mean, you didn't forget it, you knew it because episode 7's right in your face, but why isn't Hopper being more concerned about it?
Now,
Go ahead.
granted, we're running a little bit more than we wanted to at this, but
Yeah.
we should address these things. That was just one story I'd read. Now, the next one I read, people complaining that it's unrealistic that the kids have that much freedom, that the parents aren't there and
No.
are oblivious to their actions.
No,
that is
I totally-
unrealistic.
No, that's because you weren't alive in the 80s.
No. Yeah. Up until, the 90s? Late 90s? Everything started with that.
Yes.
We
Well,
were
yeah,
we were
because
past that
well, the
period,
the Gen Xers will say to you, we had that freedom. We had it because we were really the first. We were that weird spot which we've talked about before. We were coming out of the 70s. We weren't quite into the protectiveness of the 90s yet. We graduated before that became a thing. Like I said, it's of the time of the banana seat bike, of the time of you and your 3 friends going trick-or-treating without a parental escort.
right.
Wasn't that long ago, and everyone's forgotten it.
Yeah. Like
know?
the Jedi. Where people bitch about Star Wars, where it's like, oh, they've only been gone 20 years. Why do people forget? It's just because of the media and everything around you puts up a wall that you can't see out.
Oh,
of
that's
how it used
absolutely, Yeah, absolutely. So everyone who watches this, y'all remember Janet Reno? She was about 20 years ago. I'm just
And
saying.
that was
I mean,
one of the biggest things
But I'm
ever.
saying though,
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean. But I had that freedom. I know you
yeah.
had that freedom.
And that comes from parents being at work too. You get home from school, you throw your book bag down, you jump on
It
your
wasn't
bike,
even
and you're
that.
gone.
It just seemed like
or
you
summer
didn't,
days.
The
Just the sun
threat
came up
of
as soon as it came down.
Exactly. The threat of whatever perceived threats that are out there now, they weren't there. We didn't have that concern. Especially, I will say this, Hawkins, Indiana, isn't that different from 80s Westminster.
No.
I mean, that's where Rob and I I grew up more of a suburb. You grew up in the main part of it, but
Right.
it's not that different.
No.
It isn't.
Not at
You know
all.
what I mean?
Not at all.
We you grew up in the city part of West, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny. We don't have a city really, but the neighborhood
Yeah, I could
kids.
easily bike there, yes.
Exactly.
So I was
Even
hanging
me.
out at
Right.
the library
Right.
and, the little Rexall drugstore getting nickel Cokes.
Right.
But so for people to say that's unrealistic is
Because you
That's
weren't,
unrealistic.
because you're in your 30s and you were born.
or it's the savvy teenager now, with their parents all over them. Oh, that's so unrealistic.
But if you're a 30-year-old blogger, you were born in the 80s, you have no real recollection of the 80s. You
True.
grew up in the 90s and you
Right.
didn't come into your own until, the early 2000s. So that's where the unrealistic. So I can understand someone from that age bracket. That's like watching Andy Griffith and saying, "Well, that's complete bullshit." No, it's not. That's the way
Yeah,
it was.
it was a
I
slice of life.
It was
To a degree, it was
to a degree. I mean, yes, it was
exaggerated.
very down homesy,
Right.
folksy, whatever. But you did go to the barber shop. There was the local garage. You did know the sheriff by
Yeah.
name. I mean, you know what I mean. That is a slice of
Right.
that time frame, and that's the same thing. That's what I think is the best part of Stranger Things, is somebody who's our age can completely 100% relate
Yes.
to those kids
Yes.
in that time.
Now, here's something I find awesome with how our TV climate is nowadays. The most popular things are usually the most bloody, gory, adult subject matter. How
Okay.
can I say it? Nudity, all that stuff. Your Game of Thrones, great show, but you get the Stranger Things, and with the popularity that it has, that's grown by word of mouth
Completely.
completely. I don't want to. I don't know exactly if it rivals it, but it's a pretty big deal. But isn't it great that if you had to slap a rating on it, PG-13?
Yeah, because I don't, which we're going to address in a later
I
episode.
mean, other than it being
I've heard people say it's a horror this or it's a that. To me, it's not horror.
correct.
To me, it's just not. I'm sorry, it's not. It's just
I guess science fiction would be the closest.
Well, no, I think
Honestly.
the term that we kind of gave it to a certain extent. Well, we've argued it, not argued it, but we've discussed it.
Yes.
It's an urban fantasy, because that's really what it is. It is a fantasy element.
Right.
Okay, yes, you could say there's advents of science fiction, but when you say science fiction, I don't see aliens. I see something that's a parallel universe. You know what I mean? This is more fantasy to me than
Right.
a shadow monster.
Now that's a good stopping point, because next episode we'd like to talk about urban
fantasy.
and how it's truly defined, what popular pop culture things could be defined as it, but it doesn't really get
You've
as
given
much
too
recognition.
You've given too much.
Sorry.
It's becoming it's not a spoiler. We're giving,
But anyway, keep being rad.
Stay dorky. Hey, and watch Stranger Things, man.
Oh.
If you haven't watched it, please watch it. Finish it up. Comment. Tell us what you think. Yeah, obviously we're huge. We're big fans. We love it. But yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Nope, it's worth it. Stranger
It
Things. But anyway, catch you next time.